start the timer in just a second.
All right, we still got people coming in.
No, that's okay, just have a seat.
I have no service right here, Miss Boy.
Oh, man.
I'll get after her.
Is it going? So you just need to make sure that I'm in the shot the whole time. You can do it like right now.
All right, well, I'm recording, so you know.
I'm not in there, she'll go dock twice.
Okay.
So, all right, so my name is Christina Dudley, if you didn't know who I was already. I'm ready to go to be a librarian, and one of the things that we have to talk about as librarians is intellectual freedom, and that talks about banned books. So, 1 second. Bear with me because I'm not very good at Prezi. So, one of the things that you were talking about was the KUDs. We don't follow KUDs as a librarian. We do follow the TEACs, but I go by the Library Bill of Rights and the 21st Century Learners. It's kind of like TEACs from the state. And one of the things having to do with the intellectual freedom is that in Article 5, that a person has a right to use a library should be denied or abridged because of their origin, age, background, or views. Basically, it's the First Amendment. That even though they're kids, we are still protecting their First Amendment rights. And the right to use the library includes free access and unrestricted use of everything in the library. And every restriction on access to and use of library resources is based solely on the chronological age, educational level, literacy skills, or legal emancipation of user violates Article 5. So that's basically saying anytime just because they're a kindergartner and we prevent them from using the materials, we're denying them their right to use the free speech. So this is some of the stuff that I didn't know as a teacher, so that I thought that was very interesting. And this is the American Library Association. That's mainly where everything is coming from for us. And there's also one for Texas. Okay, just a second. I should have gone to the next one. Sorry, just a second. Okay, so children and young adults are unquestionably possess their First Amendment rights, including the right to receive information through library print, sound, images, all the technology, and data in other formats. So, no, sorry.
Do you have it in view?
I have it in present mode, just a second.
Okay.
See, let me do it like this, this is. Okay, so the constitutionally protected free speech cannot be suppressed solely to protect children or adults from images that we or the government feel that they should be protected from. So even though we like sexual content, all that stuff, even though we don't think it's appropriate, we cannot restrict that right. I'll go into more of that later. Just a second. I forgot at the bottom. So number 2, librarians and library governing bodies should not resort to age restrictions in an effort to avoid actual or anticipated objections, because only a court of law can decide whether it's can be banned or restricted. So if in other words, when we buy materials, if we think that it could be contested because of sexual content, language, we should not be worrying about that, because that's not the purpose that we are buying books for. We should be buying books whether we think it's appropriate for our audience, and if we're only worrying about someone challenging the book, then we're going to be losing out on a lot of good content. And I'll go into that more later when we look at some of the books that have been challenged. Okay, so library and governing bodies should maintain that only parents and guardians have the right and the responsibility to determine their children and only their children's access to library resources. So a lot of the banned books, they're wanting everyone restricted access because of their beliefs, and they cannot do that. They can only restrict their own personal child's right to not see that. And so I wasn't aware that they could do that, as a teacher. So if there's a book in there that the parent does not want, all the librarian needs to do is have on file that this child needs to have, permission to see these kinds of books. Or they're not allowed to read Harry Potter or anything with magic in it or whatever. Because that was really big way back when I first started teaching about Harry Potter. Okay, ban, challenge, or retain. The first step of the book to be challenged by someone is that the committee looks at it and goes by a certain criteria. As far as Northside is concerned, I could not find anything that I could look at as a teacher. So there may be stuff that the librarians can look at that I cannot, but I could not find a criteria. Most libraries on their websites a school library has some kind of criteria posted so that if a parent has a question about how to go through this process, they would follow it, and so they would fill out all the information and it's all posted. So as far as Northside is concerned, I could not find strict like rules to follow. I know there is one because when I was first starting teaching, like I said, Harry Potter was really big, and I had heard there was some kind of form that they were supposed to fill out if they didn't want their child. But I asked my mentor about that, and she didn't know about anything about it either. So there is some kind of form that they have to fill out, but I don't know how to get access to it. And then once they decide whether it goes through that criteria, then they have to decide, okay, are they going to ban it, take it out of every school in the district, or only certain schools, like elementary, or only middle and high school can view it, or only high school can view it. And then if they decide that they don't want to ban it, they need to, is it going to be unrestricted access? Or like within some cases, with some of these books, they put it in a section away from everybody, and only certain people can look at it, like teachers can check it out, or only certain grade levels can check it out. I've never seen that in Northside. I will go over one that I found that on Northside in another school, it is restricted. So after they, oops, sorry, forgot about that. Okay, if they retain it, there may be restrictions such as parent consent notes put in a special section, and only certain grade levels can check out. I said that already. If it's banned, many have been challenged, and what I found in a lot of my research is the closer we get to now, there have been fewer banned, particularly in Northside. There is like, it'll say later that there was 275 that were banned, that were challenged this year. Out of that, maybe, at least in our area, there was maybe 5 that could have been banned or been placed restrictions on. So they challenge a lot, but a lot is not being banned. And that has to do with the Library Bill of Rights, sorry.
So the challenge usually just comes from the parents, not from the teachers, or do the teachers?
Well, I'm gonna go into who's challenging you in just a second.
Sorry.
Yeah, hold that thought, I'm going to do that. Because as a teacher, that's one thing I wanted to know, who is doing all this challenging, and, how much of it is being challenged, and what kinds of books. So, a lot of the challenges are in upper grades, like middle and high school. So that's why I'm focusing on elementary, because that's what we are. I'm not focusing on the upper elementary, I'm focusing on more 3rd and below. So I do mention some upper, like some 5th grade, but because that's where majority, if you hear about banned books, that's what you're hearing about, is the middle and the high school usually. And there's not a lot of information on elementary level. And there is a lot of challenges through there. I did it again, sorry. Okay, so this is a question for you guys. So do you know any banned books that have been banned in the last 20 to 30 years? Does anyone, so you could talk amongst yourselves for a few minutes, or if you want to share with the group, does anyone know about any books that have been banned or maybe challenged?
Isn't Catching the Ride challenged?
Yeah, that's more of an adult level, so the high school, yes, and it has been banned, yes.
Is it Tom Sawyer with,
Tom Sawyer, yes, has
talk
been.
about the slave, like derogatory?
Really?
Yeah,
What's his name?
and we're gonna go into some, I'm not so much focusing on more the upper level high school, because those, like, a lot of those we are familiar with, because it was, around that time, that's when the big push for banning was. It's not so much anymore. So does anyone know anything of more contemporary?
I really want to know.
No one knows anything about?
Uncle Remus?
Yeah, with Brer Rabbit.
Yeah,
and
the
Brer
Brer
Bear.
Rabbit, I didn't come upon that, but I do remember a lot of people were having a problem with that.
Do they have like the Bible in the library?
Well, that's gonna come up, that's gonna come up. That's a good question. That's going to come up. No one knows anything contemporary like other than Harry Potter, because I know Harry Potter.
50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey.
Say that again?
50 Shades of
Oh,
Grey.
yeah. Oh, yes.
It's been
Believe it or not, that is that is one of our questions that we as librarians were asked in our discussions. Believe it or not, 50 Shades of Grey is allowed in a high school library.
No way.
Are
you serious?
Middle school and high school. Yes. Now, we had a
In
big,
middle school?
yes, we had a big discussion about whether it was appropriate or not, and it goes back to the Bill of Rights. Whether you think it's
Yeah, it's up to the parents.
it's up to the parent, and really the parent, we also went into more recent stuff. Really, the parent does not also have the right to deny the rights of a First Amendment. So if the child wants to read, unless the parent really pushes it, they're not gonna deny them rights to see that. Because particularly when I get into what kinds of books.
DJ wants to know where the closest high school is.
Now, I cannot look and see, but I bet if you go on Overdrive, it's on our Northside website. Because like I said, I will tell you, there's not a lot of books banned in Northside. There are none.
If you read
How
that
about
book,
the
it'll be a
Twilight
swat.
books?
Okay, let's not go there. I need to record it.
Were any of the Twilight books ever challenged?
Actually, yes, they were. They were challenged. Now, I can go back later and look, but I don't think they were banned. I think they were only challenged because of the witchcraft. And there was another series that I read that when I was reading it, I was like, oh no, I stopped reading it because and it's a high school book, one of the characters gets into an affair with a teacher, and I was like, oh no. So I stopped reading it because of that, and that series has been challenged because it has to do with witchcraft. There are witches in it, and they're like,
Well, see, and I would have thought it would have been the sexual content too, because it doesn't flat out say it when I read the books.
yeah,
but
no, it's the
insinuated.
vampires. It's not sexual content,
And
it's the
that's
vampires. That's what
interesting.
people are,
Because my
Yes.
fifth graders when they first came out were reading them, and I happened to read them too, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, like that's kind of inappropriate.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, we can't stop them from.
exactly, and Twilight, I don't know if we have it in elementary, I'd have to look, I don't think it's in
It was a
elementary.
personal book that the
Yeah,
student was reading.
So, yeah, but, I read that a long time ago, I don't remember, but I do know that when I was doing research for some of this, because this is not the only thing I've done with fan books, we've done lots of talk about it, but Twilight is, a big thing, it was for the vampires. That's the main one that stuck out for vampires. There's another vampire series, the Vampire Academy, I think, that's the other one that popped up. But it was not like Twilight. Twilight's like the big one. And I've heard of other vampire series that are much more popular than Twilight you don't hear about that have not been banned. Like there's one by Ellen Schreiber, I don't remember the name of the series, that has been around for a long time. I did it again, sorry, just a second.
Maybe it's because of the popularity of.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. So ban challenge or retained, I'm gonna show you these, wait, they're gonna come up small, so these are the ones that we're gonna look at. There's gonna be, so we can put them all up. They were supposed to go up big, but I couldn't figure out how to make it go. Okay, so, these are the ones that I have. I'm just gonna randomly give them to you, and I want you to discuss or put aside what ones you think might be banned or have been challenged or banned, and why do you think, now some of these you might have heard of, some of them